In the year 37 CE, a boy named Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus was born into the heart of Roman nobility. His mother, Agrippina the Younger, wasn't just any noblewoman. She was the ambitious niece of Emperor Claudius. From his earliest days, the boy who would become Nero learned a harsh truth of Roman life. Love and power rarely walk hand in hand. Agrippina's dreams weren't of motherhood, but of empire. In a move that shocked Rome, she married her own uncle, Emperor Claudius, securing her son's place in the line of succession. Claudius adopted the boy, and Lucius was reborn as Nero Claudius Caesar Drusus Germanicus. His education was second to none. The great philosopher Seneca taught him rhetoric, while the Stoic soldier Boris taught him restraint. He grew into a handsome youth, praised for his gentle voice and poetic charm. At 16, he married Claudius's own daughter, his stepsister Octavia, a match Rome celebrated as the perfection of dynasty. But behind the palace's marble walls, Agrippina was already whispering of what came next. In 54 CE, Emperor Claudius died suddenly after a meal of mushrooms. While the palace put on a show of mourning, the streets of Rome erupted with a new name, Nero. At just 17, he became the youngest emperor in Roman history. In those first moments of power, Agrippina sat beside him, a queen in all but name. Her face even appeared alongside his on Roman coins. Mother and son, rulers of the world. But Nero soon grew tired of living in her shadow. He sought escape in art, playing the lyre, writing poetry, and wandering the city streets at night in disguise. Rome was captivated by this charming young Caesar. He abolished secret trials, lowered taxes, and spoke of a new age of mercy. Guided by Seneca, his first 5 years on the throne were seen as a golden age. The Senate, long suppressed, finally felt it could breathe again. But Agrippina's iron grip tightened. She demanded to be present at every meeting, tried to dictate his decrees, and openly insulted his friends. The final straw came when Nero fell for a freed woman named Acta. Agrippina threatened a public scandal, and Nero realized he had to break free. The student was about to outwit the teacher. First, he stripped her of her bodyguards and political influence, isolating her from the court. When that wasn't enough, his plots turned deadly. He sent assassins to her villa, but they failed. Next, he devised a macabre plan, a collapsible boat designed to sink and drown her. Incredibly, Agrippina survived, swimming ashore, alive and enraged. Finally, Nero sent soldiers to finish the job. As they surrounded her, her last words were a chilling curse. "Strike the wound that bore Nero." The news sent a tremor of fear through Rome. A son had murdered his own mother. Seneca desperately tried to spin the act as a necessity for the state, but the city's poets fell silent. Nero, haunted by guilt, tried to drown the whispers with extravagant games and festivals. But his guilt curdled into indulgence. He began performing his own poetry and songs on public stages, an act that scandalized the high-born patricians but delighted the common crowds. He no longer wanted to be an emperor. He wanted to be an artist. "Let Rome be my stage," he declared. Seneca warned him, "A ruler who plays becomes a slave of applause." But Nero had stopped listening. His descent accelerated. He banished his wife, the beloved Octavia, on false charges of adultery and had her executed. The people mourned, toppling her statues in protest. Nero then married his obsession, the beautiful Poppaea Sabina. The empire now held its breath, terrified of what this unpredictable boy god would do next. Senators began plotting in the shadows, and the loyalty of the Praetorian Guards started to waver. Nero's response was more extravagance. Colossal palaces and endless spectacles to distract the masses. And then, on a hot summer night in 64 CE, a small flame appeared in the city. A flame that would grow into a great fire, consuming the heart of Rome itself, and forever sealing Nero's infamous legacy. On the night of July 18, 64 AD, a spark ignited near the Circus Maximus. In a city of wooden rooftops and narrow streets, it was a death sentence. Flames leaped from building to building, devouring everything in their path. For 9 agonizing days, the eternal city burned. Palaces, temples, and markets vanished into ash as panic flooded the streets. 2/3 of Rome was reduced to smoldering ruin. Where was Nero? He was at his seaside villa in Antune when the blaze began. Some accounts claim he rushed back to Rome, opening his personal gardens to the homeless and organizing relief efforts. But other, more damning rumors spread like the fire itself. They said he stood on a tower, watching the inferno with a lyre in his hand, singing about the fall of Troy. The truth, forever blurred by smoke and time, is lost to us. When the flames finally died down, the citizens were desperate. They needed food, shelter, and answers. Nero's initial response was surprisingly merciful, but suspicion soon curdled into outrage. Had he burned Rome just to build his own monument? His next move seemed to confirm their worst fears. He unveiled plans for a new palace, the Domus Aurea, the Golden House. It was an architectural marvel of marble, ivory, and precious gems, complete with an artificial lake. Upon seeing the plans, Nero reportedly said, "At last I can begin to live like a human being." The people were furious. Whispers of madness echoed through the ruined city. To divert the blame, Nero needed a scapegoat. He found one in a small, misunderstood religious sect, the Christians. They were rounded up, subjected to horrific tortures, and burned alive as human torches to illuminate Nero's garden parties. The spectacle horrified many Romans, but it also entertained the bloodthirsty crowds. Nero's reputation shifted from merely eccentric to truly monstrous. His old mentor Seneca retired in disgust, broken by the cruelty he could no longer contain. But retirement offered no safety. Conspiracies began to bloom in the shadows. The most famous, the Pisonian plot, aimed to assassinate Nero and restore the Republic. The plot failed, and Nero's vengeance was swift and brutal. Senators, generals, and even poets were forced to take their own lives. Seneca was among them. He died quietly, bleeding out in a bath, loyal to the idea of Rome, but not to the man who now ruled it. Nero's paranoia deepened. He grew isolated, trusting no one. His wife, Poppaea, died during a quarrel. Some say he kicked her to death in a fit of rage. His grief was as theatrical as his art. He descended further into his own world, racing chariots in the Circus Maximus and competing in the Olympic Games in Greece, which he always won, of course. He ordered statues of himself to be erected, depicting him as the sun god, Apollo. But the real world was closing in. The provinces of Gaul, Spain, and Africa rose in revolt, refusing to pay allegiance to a madman. His own protectors, the Praetorian Guard, abandoned him. Finally, the Senate, which had long feared him, found its courage and declared Nero a public enemy. He fled Rome in disguise, hiding in a freedman's villa just outside the city. Trembling, with only a few loyal servants left, he heard the hoofbeats of the Senate soldiers approaching. "Is this what it means to die?" he whispered. His attendants begged him to be brave, but he hesitated. As the soldiers closed in, he pressed a dagger to his throat. His final words were not of an emperor, but of a performer. "What an artist dies in me." With that he fell, and the Julio-Claudian dynasty ended. Rome awoke to silence after years of music and fire. Nero's death plunged the empire into chaos, sparking the brutal year of the 4 emperors. His statues were torn down, his memory officially condemned. Yet some secretly mourned him. In the East, legends persisted that Nero was still alive and would one day return. For centuries, his name has been a synonym for tyranny. But was he a monster or a misunderstood visionary? He left a legacy of art, architecture, and unimaginable cruelty, all woven together. His golden house stood as both a marvel and a curse. Rome rebuilt itself upon the ashes he left behind. And through the smoke of history, we can still hear the faint echo of a lyre, playing Nero's eternal song of glory and ruin. Thanks for watching. If you want to explore more stories of figures who walked the line between genius and madness, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. See you next time.